Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the top-tier brewing stand. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
Brewers, it's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think. Jamil and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy. Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
Greetings, cretins. How y'all doing today?
Sound like you were straining there, like you were...
well, I've got a bad head cold at the moment.
Trying to pass something.
Yeah, some phlegm down the back of my throat, actually.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm great.
It's that time of year. Hey, have you gotten your flu shot?
No, I haven't yet. I figured this is the flu now, so I'm good, you know?
No. You can. There's many strains of flu.
Oh, okay.
You can get flu multiple times during the season.
Okay.
Go get yourself a flu shot once you get better.
Okay.
Apparently,
I'll do that tomorrow.
You don't want it when you're already sick, because, I don't know. Maybe
that might just kick me over right there.
Yep. Got my flu shot the other day. I tell you, what is interesting to me is that they have improved needles using to give injections.
Oh, really?
They've improved it over the course of time. I mean, if you look back in when they were inoculating people back in gold rush days and stuff like that, they actually had inoculations for smallpox.
Oh.
Somebody realized like back in the 1700s or early 1800s about that if you had the pox, they would like take scabs from people that survived, and they would grind them up and they'd like snort them like cocaine, or they'd do stuff like that. So then they started taking like the pus and things like that, and then what they would do is essentially take they
just wipe it on each other, right?
They'd take a nail, essentially like a rusty ass nail, and they would dip it in this stuff, and they'd stab you in the arm with it and break the skin, and that was enough to inoculate. And with smallpox, when they did that, maybe 5% of people died or 6% of people died. If they didn't inoculate you, 30% of the local population died. So they're like, well, all right, let's take the 6%. Yeah. So that's how they started doing it. And then they came up with the needle and the injections, and they got better and better. And, when you and I were kids, the needles were actually pretty beefy and pretty, it hurt. And nowadays, they've gotten the needles much finer, the manufacturing of the needles, and they're much sharper, that they go in and you barely feel them now. I mean, at first I thought it was just me. Maybe I'm becoming numb to life. But the needles have been improving. So when you get a vaccination like a flu shot, it doesn't really hurt at all. You barely even feel a needle.
You think those beefy needles built character? though. I mean, you know, look at you
Back in the old days.
now as an adult. You have your own business. John wrote a book now.
Right. If I hadn't been stabbed by bigger needles,
You'd be playing video games, baby.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, it's not too late for you, Scott. When you next go in for the flu shot, ask him for the, like 2 or 3 sizes up.
Give me
in the
that big needle.
Ask him to dull it down a little bit. Stab it into the floor a few times before they stab it into you.
Right. Yeah, I need a gauged needle, and I need it to be dipped into the floor first.
I bet you go on eBay and buy some needles, like old, medical needles from the 1800s, and have them use those.
Yeah, preferably used. People from the 1800s.
And adds a little more
you don't have to go that far. You can just head over to your local veterinary, large animal medicine.
Right.
They'll fix you up.
Well, I'll tell you, so I'm fascinated with the improvement in the needles. I thought that was amazing. I'll tell you what else is amazing: the improvement in brewing technology by folks like our good friend John Blickman.
John Blickman, yes.
You in a race car, Palmer? What the hell was that?
It was a neighbor with his motorcycle.
Wow.
Okay. I know Blickman Engineering. And they are like the they're taking brewing from the stab you in the arm with a nail, rusty nail, to a finely executed needle of today for homebrewing. They're making homebrewing painless by
That's right.
Being extremely clever and knowledgeable in what they're doing. They brew,
and the careful administration of nitrous oxide.
Right, and they've got the ability to turn that knowledge into actual usable equipment, which is really cool. And one of the reasons you should check them out at BlickmanEngineering.com. And if you're going to the Homebrewers Conference in June in San Diego, I'm sure John Blickman will be there. His whole crew will be there. They're usually at the conference, and they've got lots of fun stuff that you can touchy-feely on, ask them questions, tell them how you like to brew, and see what they got. And a lot of times they do a demo too, a demo brew day, which is kind of cool.
You don't think that fermenting in your bathtub back in the day that built character, don't you think? I think Blickman's making it too damn easy on you homebrewers.
Right. Would I be the successful brewer I am today if I had all this Blickman equipment years ago?
Not a chance.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying. No, I think you're wrong. I think I would have been much further ahead of the curve had I access to such fine equipment.
Probably. Because you have that internal drive from the big needles from when you were a kid.
I already had the big needle thing going. Yeah, exactly. So check them out, BlickmanEngineering.com. Good folks. They've been sponsoring this show, so you don't have to pay for it for, God knows, like 7 years or something like that. I don't know. Been a long time.
Yep.
Well, and it's been a while since we talked about metals. And John his expertise is actually metals. And we had a good show idea from a listener, Jack, from Pittsburgh, PA. He was asking us about stainless, care and feeding of stainless. I think that's a good article for one of the brewing magazines, but we're going to cover it here on the show for you.
Right.
And I think everybody has questions about it because stainless doesn't really behave like a lot of other metals. I think. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's when you buy something, you think, okay, it's ready to go, but then you wonder, are there steps I should take before I use it? Do I need to break it in somehow? And so I understand there's lots of questions like that, and those are some of the questions we'll address today. How do you treat your stainless when you first get it? How do you maintain it after you've used it a few times? The question of repassivation comes up. Do I need to repassivate my stainless every year or 2 years or 5 years?
So let's start with this, John. Answer me this. What exactly is stainless steel? I mean, I understand, steel. I understand, generically steel, aluminum. I know there's stainless steel, but I see these numbers, 304, 306, 316, 442, whatever it is. I see all these numbers, and why do I want one over the other? Or, what's the... Give me the quick rundown on what stainless is.
A quick rundown. Okay. Well, stainless steel is an alloy of iron, carbon, and then a element such as nickel, manganese,
chromium.
There's several that can be added to it, and each, depending on which elements you've added to the iron and carbon. That class of alloy is given a certain number designation. So your 200 series are manganese and iron and carbon. Your 300 series, which is what most cook pots are made out of, and all of our brewing equipment, and all of professional brewing equipment too, is 300 series, which is iron and nickel. And typically these are an 18% chromium and 8% nickel into the iron, but the remainder being iron. Very low carbon. And that is a 304 stainless, for example, is 18.8. An 18.8 or 304 stainless item is perfectly adequate for brewing. In some situations, especially those applications that are near the ocean, where you have chloride pitting corrosion due to the salt in the air and so on, then you step up to a 316 stainless, where they add a little bit of molybdenum, that's spelled molybdenum, but molybdenum that enhances the pitting resistance. But otherwise, it's really similar to the 304. It's just that one little element addition. And then from there, you move up to your 400 series that your knife blades are made out of. And those are high chromium, high carbon. Then you go to 500 series, which are another ferritic.
Is the 400 because it holds a better edge?
Well, yeah, that's the whole basis of the 400 series. Is those are typically used for knife blades and tools, where you want the high chromium for stainlessness, and the high carbon to give it the hardness, 60 Rockwell and so on. The trouble is that 400 series tend to be brittle, and they also are not very resistant to chemical attack because they're kind of one-dimensional that way. That's where the 300 series is much more corrosion resistant than a 400 series.
Well, and I've also, buying parts for like the tap room and things like that, I see some of the parts vendors, they'll sell stainless couplers, stainless nuts, stainless things, and they just call them stainless. And they say it's fine for beer service. And then when then they'll say 304 if you need to serve wine or cider or something, sour beers or something like that, where it's more acidic.
Okay. They may be a 200 series stainless
on the generic stainless.
Yeah, and like you go to the school cafeteria and get that cheap stainless steel flatware that they have, forks and knives. That's your 200 series, your ferritic stainlesses. Well, no, sorry, 200 series are an austenitic. The 500s are your ferritics. But the nickel in stainless is expensive, and so that's why
it's like at least 5 cents a pound, I would think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, $50 or $500 a pound or something like that. So what they try to do is they substitute manganese in for the nickel to make it a little cheaper, and that's your 200 series. 200 series are perfectly adequate for food applications, low acid, low chemical situations. But and that may be what a lot of these fittings are made out of, is 200 series or a ferritic, which is, like I said, the college cafeteria flatware stuff, which is kind of low chromium, really only a low chromium addition.
Okay.
And so what makes a steel stainless? Let's go back to that essential question. Well, iron rusts, and in the way it rusts is that you have on the surface, you have oxygen molecules that will bind to the iron to form iron oxide. In the case of iron, that iron oxide is not a very stable oxide, so it encourages, in fact, it kind of seeds oxidation around it. So once you get it started, it will tend to grow, as opposed to aluminum oxide, which is much more stable. When aluminum oxidizes, it just stays there. It doesn't move. It doesn't. The oxidation doesn't grow any deeper into the metal, it's pretty stable. But iron oxide is not very stable, and it will cause rust to form beneath it, and so you can get oxide or rust pits in the iron and the steel. What stainless does is that it replaces, this 18% chromium, 8% nickel into the iron, and this forms a surface layer of chromium and nickel-rich phases, which have much more stable oxides, like the aluminum I was talking about. And so stainless steel works by forming a protective coating on the surface of these chromium and nickel oxides that are stable. And that's what provides your corrosion protection. Now, if you take another piece of iron, say like a screwdriver or some steel wool or something, and scratch the surface, you'll disrupt those stable oxides. And if whatever you've scratched it with has free iron on it, like I said, the iron oxide is not very stable, and it will seed and grow more iron oxide around it. And so that's why we always say don't clean your stainless steel with steel wool or other tool steels, because they aren't the same chemically as the stainless steel pot or tank, and that can cause corrosion.
Ends up depositing that other steel onto the iron onto the surface, and then once it's that microscopic amount starts to rust, the rust continues into the rest of your stainless, and you get a problem.
Right.
Let's do this. Let's take a short break. When you come back, I've got a story about a piece of equipment I bought for our brewery that I had to deal with. It's very appropriate to this conversation. So we'll cover that right after this.
From the stovetop to a camp burner to some kind of brew stand, most homebrewers follow some version of this progression. With each move, a homebrewer will often have to change a lot, if not all, of their equipment. Until now, Blickman Engineering brings you the top-tier brewing stand, the only brewing stand that grows with you. For example, buy a top-tier floor-standing burner now, and it'll bolt right to your top-tier brewing stand when you're ready for all-grain brewing. The top-tier brewing stand is perfect for 5-gallon to 20-gallon batch sizes. Its modular design is adjustable and accommodates everything from small footprint coolers up to 30-gallon pots. How does the top-tier brewing stand do it? At its core is a strong, heat-treated, and anodized aluminum main post. On all four sides are built-in T-slots for the adjustable heavy-gauge stainless steel shelves and beefy burner tiers. The tiers accommodate any manufacturer's pots or coolers up to 21 inches in diameter. Best of all, not only does the top-tier brewing stand grow with your skills and equipment, but it easily knocks down for long-term storage or transport, too. The top-tier brewing stand from Blickman Engineering. Learn more at blickmanengineering.com and to find a local Blickman retailer. And start brewing from the top tier.
The best thing to happen to brewer's yeast in a century is from White Labs. For pro brewers and home brewers, yeast in the new Pure Pitch package powered by FlexCell technology redefines how fresh your yeast can really be. That's because your yeast is cultured, grown, and delivered all in the same Pure Pitch package. It's never been transferred and never been exposed to the environment. Pure Pitch is powered by White Labs' proprietary FlexCell container, which took 6 years to develop and is designed to be the best home your yeast has ever traveled in. Just cut open a Pure Pitch package and pitch the purest yeast possible. Learn more about Pure Pitch, powered by FlexCell technology, at whitelabs.com. And while you're there, sign up for one of the many great classes White Labs offers, like Yeast Essentials 2.0, coming up August 22nd and 23rd, or any one of their great workshops for brewers, distillers, and vendors. Pure Pitch from White Labs. 6 years to develop, refine, and perfect. 2 seconds to open.
When I order a beer, I want my server to know more about it than I do. I want someone who enjoys good beer and loves helping others enjoy it too. I want someone who knows how to pour a perfect pint for every beer style. I want a Cicerone.
The Cicerone Certification Program is creating the type of people who help you enjoy great beer. Home brewers and craft beer lovers know beer is more flavorful and complex than ever, and it takes some serious knowledge to store and serve beer right. Cicerones know beer. There are 3 levels in the Cicerone program: Certified Beer Server, Certified Cicerone, and Master Cicerone. Cicerones are truly the sommeliers of beer. The best beer locations have a Certified Cicerone on staff. Relaxed and unpretentious. Cicerones are tested on storing and serving beer, beer styles, flavor and tasting, the brewing process and ingredients, and pairing food with beer. Learn more about your next beer guide at cicerone.org. Certified Cicerone, because it takes top talent to present a perfect pint.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris, the proud owner here at Keystone Homebrew Supply. We're thrilled to be entering our 20th year of supplying this great industry. And to show you, the Brewing Network Army, how much we appreciate your support, we're offering you 10% off your first order on our website, KeystoneHomebrew.com. Just use coupon code BNARMY at checkout, and I'll get your order out the same day. My goal at Keystone Homebrew Supply has always been to have a complete supply of everything a brewer could want. When you place your order online or when you come into our store, it's our goal to have everything on your list and more. One aspect of KeystoneHomebrew.com that we're really excited about is the ability to fulfill customers' exact grain bills. Do you hate to wait? Keystone Homebrew Supply can get your precious yeast and hops to you within just one day if you live between Connecticut and Virginia, and within 2 days east of the Mississippi. KeystoneHomebrew.com. Coupon code BNARMY. I'm Jason Harris, and I approve this message.
Back to the 2 guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. Yeah, Scott, you'll appreciate this story. I'm trying to set up the tap room there at Heretic. And so, being the person that I am, I'm looking for the cheapest possible kinds of equipment.
You're right. I appreciate it.
Why pay $1,000 for a 3-compartment sink when here's one for $350?
Right.
It seems to be exactly the same thing, brand new. That includes like shipping, free shipping, faucet, all that stuff. So we get this thing, and I put it in the tap room. It sits there for a while. So it's been exposed to oxygen for quite some time. And the stories that I've always heard as well, if you expose stainless to oxygen, to the air, eventually the moisture and oxygen in the air will naturally passivate the stainless. And so when it came time, I figured, well, it's, new, it's probably already fine. As soon as we ran some water in this thing and got like the drain boards wet, like the next day, covered in rust. The whole thing was all of a sudden orange, bright orange. And
nice.
I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I wasted $300 and something bucks on this thing. I should have just bought a nicer, sink to start with. But I knew that it was the rust on there could be dissolved with a strong enough acid. And once that rust was gone, then the surface had a chance to, kind of heal itself. You dissolve away any iron that's there, and you leave behind more of the chromium, the nickel, whatever's in the stainless that you got. And there's a thing called navel jelly. I was trying to explain this to my guys at the brewery. Mm-hmm. Stuff called navel jelly. It's phosphoric acid in some sort of like a jelly carrier. And they call it naval jelly because I guess the Navy uses it on their ships. They'll slather it on rust, and it will dissolve the rust down to a point where they can paint it. They'll scrub the loose rust away. They'll dissolve the rest of the surface rust with this naval jelly. Then they'll clean that off, and then they'll go ahead and paint it, and that's how they maintain their boats. Their fleet of the U.S. Navy runs off of naval jelly. So it's not the little stuff that's puddling up in your belly button right now. Right. It is stuff that the Navy uses. Anyway, so we happen to have 80-some-odd% phosphoric acid at the brewery. So very carefully got a cup of that and some gloves on, and I poured it on the surface and just kind of scrubbed it around on the surface and rinsed the whole thing off. And ever since then, not a bit of rust. It actually, dissolved all the rust off, and it's never had a problem ever since.
So if you could go back to before you had purchased that sink, knowing
Yes.
what you know now,
Yes.
would you do anything different?
No, probably not.
No.
No.
But would you maybe treat it once it came in before any water got on it?
Yeah, I might have. Yeah. And now that you say that, well, even then, I probably wouldn't. I would have still just take a chance and see what happens, because it should be fine. It appears to be stainless. It hasn't had any rusting whatsoever ever since.
Yeah. Well, it probably is stainless, and it probably is like a 200 or 300 series stainless sink. And what you've done is, yes, you've allowed the surface rust to corrode, and then phosphoric acid is really good at dissolving rust once it's there. Sorry, it won't. It's not very good for cleaning off surface iron per se. So if you had bought that sink, if you tried to treat that sink brand new when it came in with that phosphoric, probably wouldn't have done much.
What do they use for passiving? They use nitric and nitric phosphoric blend and electricity.
Well, no, that's electropolishing. And you have to. What you're doing there is you're applying electric current to encourage the dissolution of the surface a little bit. You're doing a kind of an act. You're actively corroding the surface is what you're doing. The electric current helps keep that surface, that corrosion layer, very uniform. Prevents it from forming pits, which can happen in electropolishing if you're not doing it right. And so that way you do get that surface iron off, and making the surface have a higher percentage of chromium and other elements, and make it more corrosion resistant.
Now, Jack had some questions about, can rusty or otherwise damaged stainless be restored? And from my experience, I got to say, yes, absolutely. I wouldn't allow rust to make you think that a piece of stainless is worthless. What I'd say is, if you see rust, you better jump on it right away, because, like you're saying, John, it can continue on through the metal.
Right.
And the sooner you take care of it, the better.
Yeah. Well, it's appropriate that I have this head cold today, because rust is a symptom.
It was like head cold?
Yeah. Well, it's like rust is like a runny nose.
Yes.
You can have a runny nose for several reasons. It may be smallpox, it may be rubella, it may be a common cold. But in the case of rust, you can have the rust forming as a result of, just water on the surface, or it could be a salt, or it could be, some other condition. I agree with you that generally you can repair and repassivate your stainless equipment, but it depends on what the initial cause of the rust is. Or the corrosion is, as far as how effectively you can treat it. Just like a disease. I mean, whether you have the flu or smallpox or whatever.
So, a little more detail on just damage you can't repair, or what are the causes other than moisture and oxygen and.
Well, welds. Let's go to welds. If your stainless is welded, and if it's welded poorly, where the person that's doing the welding puts too much heat on the stainless steel while he's doing the welding, and I'm talking like 5-10 minutes worth of laboring over a joint to get it to fuse, that amount of heat will allow the chromium and the nickel to migrate and chemically combine with the carbon in the stainless and form carbides. And these carbides will kind of atomically be attracted to each other, and they'll grow. And what you end up with is areas of non-stainless steel, with these carbides formed in it. Mm-hmm. So this heat affected zone is what we call it. Now you have stainless steel containing a small area of non-stainless steel. So as soon as you put that into a corrosive environment, guess what happens? The non-stainless area corrodes preferentially to the stainless area next to it. You set up a battery effect, kind of a galvanic effect. And that kind of cause of corrosion can't be fixed. You literally have to cut out that heat affected zone and replace it with new metal and weld it in, quickly and efficiently, so you don't generate a new heat affected zone.
Mm-hmm. So now, what about this thing about just leaving stainless exposed to the air will eventually passivate it? Right.
Well, yes and no. The key to forming a passive surface is the stainless has to be clean. Squeaky clean. No water break when you pour water down the surface. That the water should equally wet the surface and flow down without causing ripples in dry areas. Water break free surface, and that way you know that it's clean. And on exposure to air, the chromium and nickel oxides will form instantaneously. You don't need to wait any period of time. It happens instantaneously if it's clean. Now, that's in a perfect situation. In the real world, you're going to have the clean areas and non-clean areas, and this stainless will end up passivating non-uniformly, and that can be a problem because just like your sink, the stainless can form a rust in one spot, and then that will spread to other adjacent spots. And one problem with stainless steel is that they tend to corrode into a pit, and that pit galvanically looks different from the area around it, and the corrosion will tend to be concentrated in that pit, and you end up getting pinholes in your stainless. That's especially prevalent when you've got chlorine or chlorides in solution. They tend to cause pitting corrosion in stainless steel. So you got to watch out for these chemicals when you're doing your cleaning, and make sure you rinse very well so that you don't leave chloride, drying, or salt, in other words, drying on the surface of the stainless that can cause corrosion in the future.
Okay.
In the case of your sink, again, what you could have done when you first received it is to take a stainless steel cleanser like Revereware or Barkeeper's Friend or one of the other kitchen cleansers for stainless steel, and a scrubby, and just clean that whole thing and rinse it very nicely. So now you've got a perfectly clean surface, and that should passivate uniformly, and you would not have seen the rusting problem that you saw.
Well, that requires forethought and effort. Sounds entirely counter to my whole method of working.
Yeah, well, that's better living through chemistry.
That's right. Well, and better living through brewing with style. Have you listened to the Brewing with Style show, John?
I haven't, but I've talked to so many people that have, and they agree that it's a great show.
Right, and that's hey, it's fair play. I don't listen to this show either, so There you go.
And I've never read your book, Dick.
Well, Brewing with Style, it's on the Brewing Network. A lot of great shows on the Brewing Network, but Brewing with Style, I do that one with Tasty McDole and John Plisse, and we go over lots of different, all the BJCP styles and the new ones, the old ones, the ones that never were, and we taste commercial examples, and we even taste homebrew examples. And we tell you why these things, you can taste along with us, and you tell you why these things are a good example, how they should taste, kind of give you an idea that you just haven't gotten a bad bottle of something, or it should taste that way or doesn't taste that way. So it's very interesting. It's on twice a month opposite this show. So find that on thebrewingnetwork.com. All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, John, I want to talk about what kind of things should people be doing? You've got your new piece of stainless toy. What should you do with it? Right? Okay. We'll talk about that right after this.
A few things happened 30 years ago.
ARPANET migrated to TCP/IP, and the Internet was born. Revenge of the Jedi was renamed Return of the Jedi and opened in theaters. Mila Kunis and Emily Blunt were born, beginning a rad fantasy in my mind.
But all of that pales next to the fact that HopTech opened its doors and began blowing homebrewers right out of their mash tuns. HopTech doesn't fuck around. Real people shipping awesome shit straight to you. Their new website is fast and easy to navigate. Or just call 800-379-4677 and let badass bitch Jade and the gadget guy Roberto blow their warm load of customer service all over you. So visit the site or visit the store in Dublin, California, and support those that support you. Get your brewing on at hoptech.com. Are you a member of the American Homebrewers Association? Well, you should be. Members of the AHA can focus on brewing beer, and the AHA takes care of the rest. The American Homebrewers Association advocates on behalf of homebrewers like you to legalize the hobby in all 50 states and make sure that beer laws make sense. Plus, there are many great benefits that come with your AHA membership, like pub discounts that give you awesome deals at bars, restaurants, breweries, and more. Zymergy Magazine and eZymergy for tons of articles, how-tos, easy-to-follow recipes, and news about the hobby you love. And access to the members-only content on homebrewerassociation.org. But the AHA can't do it without your support. Join today so the American Homebrewers Association can keep fighting for your home brewing rights. Visit homebrewerassociation.org or join right now from the homepage of the Brewing Network website. Relax. Don't worry. It's the American Homebrewers Association.
Nico, listen, our lawyers said that we had to do this for 1 hour, and after this, we don't have to talk to each other for 3 more months to the next meeting.
Kids, come on, let's get out of here.
I'm supposed to have more lines. I'm the professional. Hey, it's Sully.
And I'm Nico.
And we opened the 21st Amendment 10 years ago at 563 2nd Street in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park, to make great beer and have a great time doing it.
That's right, because to us, the 21st Amendment is more than just the right to make beer. It's the right to experiment, to be innovative, and just do things differently. And so now, we're putting our craft beer in cans.
That's right, cans. You can find our world-famous Hell or High Watermelon Wheat Beer at Brew for Your Die IPA in the Northeast, Northwest, parts of the Midwest, and Alaska in cans and on draft. So next time you're at your local neighborhood pub or good beer store, be sure to ask for 21st Amendment in cans.
Because everyone likes it in the can.
Tasty crack cans.
Tasty crack can.
Learning to brew has never been so disgusting. This is Brew Strong.
All right. Like I promised, short break. Not even enough time to pee. That was that short. Or blow phlegm out your nose.
Yeah, that too.
All right, so let's say, John, I've got myself some nice new stainless goodies, and what should I do with them? Should I be scrubbing them down with some Barkeeper's Friend or something you don't want to get them, or should I just rinse them off or do nothing?
Yeah, it depends.
So
it depends on the manufacturer.
Right.
The manufacturing process for a lot of our equipment usually involves deep drawing or a roll forming, stretching the stainless against the die.
Like kettles or conicals or things like that?
Yeah. And even large, fermentation tanks where they're, basically a rolled piece of sheet that's been welded down the side, or welded together.
Mm-hmm.
You're hoping that the manufacturer has polished the stainless steel after manufacture, that he's ground the welds and polished them, either using just purely mechanical, means like abrasives, alumina abrasives, or chemical means to passivate it after all the manufacturing work has been done.
Mm-hmm.
So now that stainless steel is clean and passivates itself. You can check, if you get a new pot or a new conical or a new fermenter, you can check for that water break free surface. Run some water down the side. If you see that water break up into separate rivulets and so on, then it's not clean and it's probably not passive. So you're going to have to do something to clean it. If you do get a water break free surface where that water just spreads out and uniformly wets the surface as it runs down, then it's clean and it's passive.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do if it's not clean? Well, on the homebrew level, for non-commercial, the best thing to do is like I've recommended in the past with the stainless steel cleanser and a scrubby. Put some elbow grease into it and scour that stainless until it's bright and shiny or really clear, and then rinse it off very cleanly. And you should get you're looking for that water break free surface.
Mm-hmm.
That will be passive, and that's really as passive as it can get. If you were to do a nitric acid passivation with 25% concentration nitric acid that's hot, then you can increase that passivation by a few percent, and that's something they do in industry for aerospace and so on, but really not necessary, especially for what we're using.
Mm-hmm. And once something's passivated, do you need to repassivate it ever? Do you, is there a calendar of passivation expiring or anything like that?
No, but again, if you look back and say, am I keeping this stainless steel surface clean? Is it so that it's always able to repassivate itself? That's the key. In a commercial brewing setting, you've got, your grains in there, you've got your beer in there, you get beer stone, you get hop spooge and proteins and so on sticking to the sides that you've got to clean off. Typically in a commercial brewery, you're using spray jets, clean in place type methods. And you're using some strong chemicals such as caustic or chlorinated caustic to help break up those soils and get them to wash off the surface, and then you'll rinse. But in doing so, you can leave behind non-stainless steel, and so in a commercial brewery setting, they often recommend acid cleaning periodically. I don't know what the frequencies are. It depends on your brewing schedule and how often you're using it. Some breweries it's probably once a week or twice a week, and others it's maybe once a month. But it depends on the kinds of chemicals you're using on the stainless steel. Like I said, chlorides are particularly aggressive and can actually remove and they'll form other they'll reduce the oxides on the stainless and remove that oxide layer. Chlorine is particularly bad at that. So that's a situation where you're going to want to make sure you have a regular cleaning regimen to keep that steel clean, and then maybe acid clean that stainless periodically to make sure that you don't get any alkaline buildup or carbonate or oxalate buildups from like beer stone and so on to help you dissolve those deposits. Let's see. Certain brewery chemicals, such as 5 stars acid 5 or acid 6 that are used, commonly around the industry. These are, proprietary combinations of acid and surfactants and cleaners. The acids are typically phosphoric and nitric, in varying proportions. They do have some passivation effect, but it's not so much a chemical passivation such as the pure or the 25% nitric process that everybody's heard about so much. It's more of a cleaning process, using those acids as part of the cleaning chemicals to ensure that there are no carbonates or iron oxide or other contaminants on the surface that would prevent basic atmospheric passivation. Yeah, does that make sense?
It does. I always wondered if, something that's acidic like star sand or something like that could even, be used in assisting in something like that.
Yeah. Again, you're not going to, quote, passivate the surface with star sand. What you're going to do is use the surfactants and the pH, the phosphoric acid in star sand to dissolve carbonates, lime, and so on that can...
Schmutz? It won't take the schmutz off?
The carbonates and... I
think carbonates is another name for schmutz.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Let's go to the Jewish guy.
Yeah. Finally, someone speaking a language I can understand around here.
Is carbonate synonymous with schmutz?
Yeah.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Yiddish for a carbonate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Shamil, schmutz. Okay, got it.
There you
go. Where was I? Okay, so so the star sand is not, quote, passivating the surface. What it can do is act as a cleaner to allow that surface to be cleaned well and allow the stainless to passivate itself.
So a lot of times, you're getting to the homebrew level, like commercial level, we're using caustic, and then we use a nitric acid after that, rinsing in between, and then we use a nitric acid. But on the homebrew scale, let's say I've got my homebrew conical. I'm not going to whip out a jug of caustic and start scrubbing around. But I would use, PBW, make sure all the schmutz is off of the fermenter.
Yeah.
And then I would, after that, probably, rinse thoroughly, and then maybe, sanitize with the star sand, and then it's clean, and like you're saying, it's the water sheeting properly, and then probably that's gonna do me in good stead for quite a while, right? If I do that on a regular basis.
That's right.
Well, there you go. See,
we are.
He said I was right.
Yeah, the industry is trying to come up with more consumer friendly passivation products. Nitric acid, a nitric phosphoric blend, strong enough to do, iron raw or free iron removal from the surface of the stainless, and to, to pickle the stainless and eat off any contaminants. That's kind of dangerous for home use. Industrial or commercial is one thing, but not at the home. So there's another product out there that uses citric acid.
Mm-hmm.
And citric acid has a chelating function to it, being an organic acid, where instead of oxidizing oxides or reducing oxides from the surface and cleaning them off that way, or oxidizing the free iron, what it does is it chelates the free iron off the surface. And then, the pH helps dissolve any alkaline residues. These citric acid cleaners and passivators are recognized by the industrial specifications, ASTM and so on, as being effective passivating agents. The nice thing about them is that they're really non-hazardous to skin. You typically use them in a 4 to 10% solution. At temperatures anywhere from room temperature up to 160 degrees, and you can stick your hand in there and it will not hurt it.
160 degree citric acid.
Well,
I think you'd be fine sticking your hand in 160 degree citric acid.
Yeah, well, it'll be a little warm.
A little bit warm.
Yeah.
But
as far as
other than the loss of skin and the oozing, bleeding blisters, you'd be fine.
You'd eventually shed that skin anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the lizard you are, yes.
Yeah, but the point is that citric acid is a non-toxic, non-hazardous way to passivate stainless.
Right. And just to make sure, don't stick your hand in like anything past like 105.
But Jamil and John said it was okay.
Right. I know. Yes.
But we're your family, so don't trust us.
That's right. Well, here's a one of our fine sponsors that you can trust. I don't know if you've been to adamandeve.com. A lot of these skeezy porn sites, you don't want to go there. You don't want to, if you're buying dildos and lube, I mean, you're kind of like, I don't know if I should trust this one. You get them through Amazon, but then Moscow's like looking at all your orders. And you get them through Adam and Eve, and, it's safe. It's a very professional, well-run company that's very upstanding and been sponsoring this show for a long time. And I'll tell you, if you use the offer code Jamil, Jamil, you go to adamandeve.com. For a limited time only, you're going to get 50% off just about any one item you want out of the store. You put that in your cart, you're going to pay 50% of that price. That's it. Then you're going to get free shipping on that thing. Again, you're not paying any more. They're going to give you a free extra gift so sensual I can't mention it. Free. You're not paying anything for that either. You'll even get to choose yourself 3 free adult DVDs from categories such as anal integration, big breasts, big butts, bisexual, chunky, co-ed, fetish, gay, POV, MILF, lesbian. I probably left a few out. I don't have my list anymore.
Use your imagination.
Use your imagination. You get to choose from all these different categories, and you get those for free. So again, you're buying one item at half price. You get free shipping, free extra gift, 3 free DVDs of your choosing, all for using the offer code Jamil at adamandeve.com. Jamil, adamandeve.com. So check them out. You can even do it from your mobile phone.
Don't apply Jamil's triple basin sink philosophy when ordering from any of our sponsors. Just, I'm just picturing Jamil with like 2 dildos on the screen. One's $11 and one's $3. He's looking back and forth.
That $3 one, I think that'll get the job done.
I'm just going for the $3.
You just got to knock the rest off. There you go. Hey,
snaps off inside.
You need to be a little frugal sometimes in some of your purchases. There's things you splurge on, and there's things you don't.
Right.
And a sink is something I don't splurge on.
Apparently not.
Dildos. There you go. Maybe that's the time to splurge. You get what you pay for in the dildo world, I think.
Indeed you do. My grandpa always said that.
He said, regardless of the schmutz, You get yourself what you pay for in the dildo world.
It's like he's here in the room with me.
Yeah, there you go.
It's eerie. It's downright eerie.
All right, let's take a short break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up talking about stainless after this.
And now, Northern Brewer presents What If Homebrewers Ruled the World?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll follow me, I will lead you into the gallery area. Now, the first piece up for sale today is a Jamil Chef original, a bottle of 1997 vintage Evil Twin.
I say.
A bidding for this one-of-a-kind piece will start at £7,000. And if you'll continue to follow me, ladies and gentlemen, I can show you a rather abstract piece from Bay Area brewer Justin Crossley. It's a German Doppelbock entitled Justin's Giant Bock. The brewer's notes here indicate that this beer had excellent mouthfeel.
That's just a crazy dream. Or is it? With Northern Brewer, a thirsty nation can craft its own ale and lager for the greater good of mankind. Northern Brewer, the home of superior customer service and the finest selection of home brewing goods for the future.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew.
Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states, plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small, single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy f***ing shit.
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
Have you ever dreamed of attending the World Brewing Academy? This year, thanks to Lallemand and Danstar, one lucky brewer will make that dream a reality for free. Lallemand and Danstar invite you to enter the Beer School 2015 contest. One lucky grand prize winner will receive fully paid tuition to the 2015 World Brewing Academy web-based concise course in brewing technology worth almost $4,000. From now until December 13th, 2014, every Danstar yeast packet you use is your ticket to enter. Visit danstaryeast.com for the details and to print your official entry form. There's no limit on the number of times you can enter, so get brewing with Danstar and get your entries in to the Danstar 2015 Beer School Contest. Whether you want to build your home brewing skills or build a career as a professional brewer, this course will change the way you think of beer and brewing. Enter at danstaryeast.com and get the dry yeast advantage with Danstar and Lallemand Premium Brewing Yeast and enter to win.
BN Army, I'm here to talk seriously for a second. You all are partially responsible for something explosive, and it's time you answer for it.
Moonlight Meadery is exploding.
Yeah, exploding across the country. Wait, they just landed in Australia with insane quality meads.
With nearly 70 different varieties of mead on the market, Moonlight Meadery has blown up the mead category and completely reinvented it.
Seriously?
What?
Seriously.
What?
You're paying money for that watered-down mead when you could have a Moonlight mead?
Moonlight meads explode with quality and flavor.
They're a party in a bottle.
Did someone say party?
If you want mead and want the best, you want meads from Moonlight Meadery and will accept nothing less.
And now get 15% off by going to moonlightmeadery.com/BNArmy and use coupon code BNArmy at checkout.
Hey, sign me up for that party.
Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters. This is Jamil Chef, and I want to tell you about Heretic Evil Twin. You might be familiar with my homebrew recipe, which uses massive late hopping to create a balance between the malty sweet and the hoppy bitter, along with an outrageous malt and hop character. I wanted a beer with the same bold hop and malt character, so we played around with the homebrew recipe until we were able to make a great commercial version too. We've created a beer rich in malt character, full of caramel, toast, biscuit, and an ever so subtle roast note. On top of that, we piled in an insane amount of Citra and Columbus hops at the end of the boil, as well as in dry hopping. This damn-the-cost approach to hopping gives Heretic's Evil Twin a great blast of citrus and tropical fruit that can't be matched by any other hop.
The result is a bold, malty, hoppy, but easy drinking beer. This is our top seller, our flagship beer, and I couldn't be prouder of it. Cheers.
To find Heretic beers near you, click on Find Some at hereticbrewing.com.
Back to your hosts, Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. Putting the testicles in technical. This is Brew Strong.
Yes, Scott and I had a further discussion about schmutz, rusty needles, housekeeping services, and what else? Building character.
And people who say, how are we doing? Instead of how are you doing?
Right. Yes. We talked about that while we were urinating, which is very, we doing, yes. Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
Yeah, we. You got a mouse in your pocket?
No, don't. That's more. I think it's more the size of a rat. Thank you very much. Not a mouse.
Just happy to see me.
This is speaking of how are we doing? How's the AHA doing? Huh? That organization doing some great stuff for homebrewers.
Nothing but great stuff.
If you are not part of the we of the AHA, in other words, if you're not a member of the AHA, I think you're missing out. Great organization. They put on all sorts of great events like the Homebrewers Conference, the Homebrewers Competition, a lot of these AHA rallies. They do a pub discount program, Zymergy magazine. They got the forums. They got all this stuff. And that's not why you become a member. You become a member to support the organization that supports homebrewing, the organization that looks out for when the laws are changing and they're screwing things up for homebrewers. They're in there helping fight the battle to make sure what you love to do and sharing beer with your friends remains a legal pastime and keeps growing like it is, because that's what's given us these great manufacturers like Blickman Engineering is having enough homebrewers to support an industry like that, to support a manufacturer like that. If there weren't enough people, Blickman would have to charge, truly insane amounts of money for what he's doing. And that just isn't sustainable. So make sure we have more homebrewers. Make sure the industry keeps going. Sign up for the AHA. You can even do it through the Brewing Network site. There's a link there for your AHA membership. You sign up through there. A little slice of that goes back to the Brewing Network. So you're supporting two great organizations with one purchase.
Yeah, and just think, too, that if you, join the AHA, if you haven't already, then you get to say, how are we doing? And it actually it means something.
Right.
There is a we.
Exactly.
You belong.
You belong. You're schmutz and all. All right, back to the stainless. Let's wrap up on the stainless here. All right, so we talked about passivating new stuff. We talked about repairing stuff. Anything else you want to wrap up with, John? Is there other care and maintenance about stainless equipment, kettles, valves,
I think
coils?
The main points are, keep it clean.
Mm-hmm.
Watch the chemical contamination that you've on it.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, don't fill it up halfway with cleaning solution and let it sit for a few days. You'll start getting pitting corrosion at the water line.
Right, drain your equipment. Get all the liquid out of it. Let it go dry.
Yeah.
Don't let it sit wet because it'll eat right through.
Mm-hmm. If you are a commercial brewer that is using clean-in-place systems and strong chemicals to do your cleaning, it's very important to do periodic acid cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to repassivate the stainless with the acid. What you're trying to do is use those acid cleaners to remove any alkaline cleaner resistant soils. Schmutz, yes.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, cleanliness is the name of the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you're getting corrosion or rust, or you see blue rings around your welds and so on stainless, that is a heat affected zone. It helps to clean off the blue, take that blue tint off. using cleanser or other means, navel jelly, as Jamil mentioned, because those blue and brown oxides that you'll see on stainless as a result of a weld, those are not passive oxides. And so those can initiate corrosion in that area. So it's important to get those bright and shiny as well. And otherwise, that's about it.
All right. One last question for you.
Sure.
In our brewery, we clean with caustic. We clean with the hot caustic, hot acid. We also use sanitizers, things like that. But when it comes to ensuring that our fermenters are 100% always clean, we've been using heat. And the thing about heat is, we'll heat it up to ensure that all surfaces are pasteurized.
Yeah.
And by doing so, I believe we are rapidly shortening the life of our fermenters. I'm still willing to pay for it. I'm just not sure how much we're shortening the life. Let's say you're cleaning with 130, 140 degree caustic or acid.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that's what a normal brewery does. Now, if a brewery brings their tanks up to 175 for half an hour, I got to imagine that shortening life. I was talking about this to somebody else, and they're like, oh, no, it just hardens the metal. I'm like, well, initially maybe you're getting some hardening, but eventually that hardening turns into fracturing, and that's the problem, because regardless of you harden the metal, you heat harden the metal, you work harden the metal, work hardening eventually becomes fracturing, because it becomes you end up exhausting the bonds or fracturing that surface.
Well, you get dislocation stack up, but no, the temperatures you're talking about, like 175, 200 degrees Fahrenheit for stainless, are not significant. To start affecting the metal molecularly,
I thought it was that expansion and contraction of the metal.
Well, that is
mm-hmm.
a consideration. If you heating it up and cooling it down is going to induce thermal expansion,
mm-hmm.
and as a result, then thermal mechanical stress.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, that will definitely shorten the life, because.
And the more you heat it up, the greater the heating, the more expansion you're going to get, and the more contraction when it cools.
Yeah, it's the cycles. It's the number of cycles that a particular stress point sees that will grow, that will initiate and grow a crack.
Now, someone else suggested that the speed at which is heated up and cooled down would somehow affect things, but I don't think that's true. I think you get up to a temperature, the metal expands to whatever it's going to expand to at that temperature, and then you take away the temperature and it contracts back down to what it's going to contract to. If you went really slow, would it have a difference versus just doing it, at some sort of regular clip?
For 304, 316, for 300 series, no, not really. For a more brittle metal, potentially something like a 400 series, like or a tungsten alloy or something like that, then you have to be concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
But 300 series is so ductile and malleable, has a very the yield stress is quite high. You don't have to worry about the speed of the thermal expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Other metals, such as 400 series 2, when you heat those up and cool them down, you can go through a region of where the crystalline structure of the material changes, and that can induce additional stresses to the piece. So again, in other alloys, 400 series or plain carbon steel or others, you can get these metallurgical transformations that will induce stress, but again, not applicable to brewing equipment, the 300 series. or 200 series for that matter.
Yeah, people were a little surprised when I was telling them that brewing equipment wears out. The fermenters, especially the kettles in a commercial brewery, and I'm sure in the home brewery, wear out over time because of the heating and cooling, heating and cooling. You do that enough, and eventually the whole thing fractures and fails. So
it can warp, and these alloys harden by cold working or mechanical working. It's like when you bend a paper clip back and forth and you eventually break it. These metals, that's the only way they harden. Case in point is Blickman's top tier system. Remember when we were up in Tahoe and trying to drill a hole through to mount the I guess it was the striker.
Those were just pathetic drill bits.
Yeah, but the cold working of the metal to form it into those shapes really strengthens it.
Right.
And so if you started inducing thermal stresses to that, you would induce cracks much sooner in a highly cold worked piece of metal like that than say in the kettle.
Right. So here's one other reason: like when you get a brew plant, when you're sizing your brew plant, if you can leave that thing hot like all week long instead of cooling it down, heating it up, cooling it down, heating it up, you can keep your kettle hot all the time. It essentially will extend the life of that kettle as well because it's not going through the contraction phase. It's just hot.
Like
all
I said, it's the number of cycles, hot to cold, so hot to cold. That number of cycles that affect the fatigue strength like that.
So the next question people are going to ask is, how many cycles is that?
I'm sorry, the line broke up. I couldn't quite hear that.
Yeah. How many cycles is that, John?
It depends. Somewhere, anywhere from 30,000 to 300,000 plus.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your answer. 30,000 to 300,000 plus.
Yeah.
I think that's a good answer.
It depends on the strength, the yield strength, the forming history, the amount of stress that it's seen each cycle, the delta stress. So, I mean, that's a whole branch of engineering there to actually determine what the fatigue life of a component may be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what CAD and stress analysis was invented for, is because that is such a complex problem trying to predict that.
Well, and the good thing is, John, that you could have said any number, and nobody would have. They'd just like, yeah, okay. John says. There you go.
There are people out there that will correct us. You know this.
Yes, that's true. No matter what we say, we get corrected. You just can't win. All right. I think that was a fine show, all about stainless, care and feeding of your fine, shiny friends in your brew house. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you're checking out our fine sponsor that makes lots of great, fine, shiny stainless things, Blickman Engineering. Check them out, blickmanengineering.com. Lots of shiny, fine, stainless things to innovate your brew day. If you have the druthers, I would go to the brewingnetwork.com, check out all the things and goodies in the store there. When you buy that stuff, all goes to the bottom line of the Brewing Network. Helps support shows like this, helps feed all our addictions, the things we need.
Enable us. Why don't you?
Enable us in our schmutz addiction, yes. You can do that at thebrewingnetwork.com. And make sure you sign up for the AHA, show up for the conference. What else? Listen to the other shows. We've got Brewing with Style. We got the Sour Hour. We got Dr. Homebrew. We got the Monday session. We got that it?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. Wow. I covered them all. So if you enjoy this, I'm sure you'll find something you'll enjoy in those shows as well. Until then, everybody, brew strong.
Brew strong.